beadwork earrings that you've got, and knowing how you write your books by just sitting down and going for it, writing just off the cuff to get started. It sounds like you do a little bit different here when you're actually planning out an artwork piece like these earrings, or do you just start in and see what happens?
Oh, the earrings, those I have the microgrid graph paper where each square is the same size as the seed bead, and I sit down and I draw out the pattern specifically with the exact colors that I want to use, and I'm a perfectionist on. It has to be precise and perfect, and that everything is planned out.
Just the opposite than how you write. Yeah, there you go.
Complete opposite. My writing is so completely different from the rest of my life. It's completely insane because I'm a perfectionist. Everything has to be exactly right. All through school, I had to get A's. Everything had to be perfect. If I missed the answer on a question, it was the end of the world. Everything had to be perfect. And the jewelry, the beadwork especially, it has to be perfect. And the stones, when I polish them, it has to be perfect. I don't like having the slightest bit of a scratch or an imperfection. I have to keep working on it until it's just right.
Wow, it's just beautiful.
I could certainly understand that.
Well, here's a thought that just came to my mind. Both of you ladies have talked about horses and your fondness for animals. In your book series, does Lindsay Gold, the county sheriff, have any affinity for horses in the book?
That's never brought up, but she does have a dog. And that dog is my dog Crook.
Wonderful.
That is him. So when you read the book and they're describing Crook as this white hound mix with this weird, short stubby tail because there's a crook in it and a twist in it and this one ear that's been injured so it looks all funky, that actually is my dog Crook. He is the only real thing in the book.
And Mary, you want to mention your fondness for dogs as well, maybe?
Oh, yeah. I grew up loving dogs. We've always had dogs, and currently have 2 Pomeranians. One's a rescue, and he's a bit of a head case. I think dogs are probably the best thing that ever happened to people. My job I have now is kind of fun because I work in a little retail shop in a tourist town, and people come in with their dogs all the time. So I love that. I get to see all these different breeds, all the different personalities, and so it's pretty great.
In my house growing up, we didn't have dogs, but we had cats. And then when I was a teenager, I got a German Shepherd, and she was my baby. So now I have dogs and cats and horses and chickens and whatever animal happens to show up that needs food, pretty much we wind up taking care of. So.
Oh, I think that's great. We've always been the same way, taking in strays, and whatever wanders up, we just take care of it since we were kids.
Well, Liz, it sounds to me that you might have had your cats at those previous houses where you might have experienced ghost activity. Is it possible? I've heard these stories that cats stop and look exactly at a certain corner of the room when there's nothing there. Did any of your cats notice any of this paranormal activity that you were experiencing back then?
Not that I remember. They would look if there were sounds or like doors, closing or something like that. They would turn and look because they were hearing it too. But I don't remember them ever really just looking at something that wasn't there or that we couldn't see at least.
Got it. Yeah. But again, your dog Rook noticed that the refrigerator door came open, sounds like.
Yeah, that was actually Knothead that did that. So, yeah, he's that's a well-deserved name, too. The dog's name is Knothead. Is that what you said? Yes.
You want to explain that
one? It started out when he was a puppy. We were just trying to find a name for him, and he has a rather distinct knot, the bony crest on his head, and we just kind of jokingly called him Knothead, and it stuck because he is goofy and just lovable and does the craziest stuff. You just look at him and wonder what's really wrong with him, because no normal dog would ever do that.
I think you have a dog like that, Mary.
Oh, yeah, that would be my little rescue dog. He's just a little bit nuts. He suffers from a lot of anxiety, and he does crazy things. But my other dog, the one I've had since she was a puppy, she actually sees spirits.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, she sees spirits. I remember spending the night at a friend's house, and it was an apartment in Everett, and it had kind of a malevolent spirit that was bothering her there. And in the middle of the night, I was sleeping on the couch out in the living room, and in the middle of the night, although there was, she didn't have any animals or anything at the time.
Oh, we've lost you, Mary. Are you there anywhere?
In the middle of the room where there was nothing there. That kind of unnerved me a little bit. And then the house I had in Portland, it seemed that it had a spirit that lived in my big closet in the master bedroom. And she would just go to the closet.
Oh, we're losing Mary there. Can you hear me okay, Liz?
I can.
Okay. Well, I'm going to jump in here, and hopefully Mary will come back. But, that brings up an idea, and I'm sure people have wondered about this in your book series. Do you also bring in the idea of spirits or ghosts along with these monsters that are maybe a product of the military base? I don't know about ghosts.
I don't, but one thing I've done has actually bring in things from folklore.
Oh.
And use those too. And part of I did it accidentally, and it worked out beautifully. In book 4, there's an encounter with one of these things that basically pulls the heat out of whatever it touches.
Oh.
And I managed to loop that back in with, I don't know if you've read the books or not, but the head dispatcher is or was Russian. She came here when she was very young, but grew up with those stories of the different folklore from Russia, and
Yes.
one of them is a frost giant.
Oh,
So I managed to loop that back.
yeah. She said frost giant. It pulls the warmth or the heat out of everything, right, Liz?
Yes.
Wow.
And
So it was kind of an accidental thing that I just happened to, and I had written it in and then stumbled across this folklore from Russia that this is perfect. This is what it is. And one of the dispatcher's brothers, actually two of her brothers, comes to work for the sheriff's department because they wind up being short-staffed because everyone starts quitting after all this chaos begins. And one of the brothers, he is skeptical on everything. He is a complete non-believer. And then after he encounters this, it kind of unnerves him because, I know what this is. This is what I was told about when I was a kid. This shouldn't be here. It shouldn't be real. So that was a very happy coincidence that it all looped back together.
isn't that amazing that these things happen like that? You're coming up with an outlandish character, probably in your mind, out of the blue, and then all of a sudden you find out that it's tied up in folklore from another country.
Right. And I went in and I started looking for different things that I could pull and use from different areas to kind of say, hey, you know what? Maybe some of these things from folklore, maybe they did exist at some point. And this is how these stories began.
Oh, definitely. Well, Liz and Mary, we are coming down to the last about minute and a half of the show. I can't believe how fast things went tonight. And my goodness, Liz, there's just so many layers and experiences to your personality here that I've just been having a wonderful time. And Mary, thank you for jumping in here. Do you have one last question you might want to ask Liz before we sign off?
Oh boy. No, I nothing to mind. My question, how am I going to get a hold of her books? Because I really am interested in reading them.
Yes, definitely. Well, matter of fact, Liz, this is your chance. Why don't you tell us one last time where we can find your 51 book series and people can purchase them?
All of the books are available on Amazon. You can also go through my website and find additional links to where the books are available. You just go to the page that says books, and you'll see all the little buttons where you can just click on them, and it will take you directly to the site where it's available.
Great.
And let's make sure that people know how to spell your name, Liz, because it is spelled a little different than it sounds.
My name is Liz Reeder, and it's spelled Reeder.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. This has been Liz Reeder, the famous paranormal author, right here on NightDreamsTalkRadio.com. Liz, thank you so much for hanging in there with us for the entire night, and we really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And thank you, Mary, for jumping in there with us.
You bet. It was my pleasure.
All right. Good night, Liz.
Good night.
Story you want to share on Night Dreams Talk Radio? You could be a guest. Email us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.